The MVP race is full of talent from guys like Allen to Stafford to Brady. But as of right now, there are really only two guys at the front of the pack in Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray.
Backpedaling, in chase, able to elude, and now will run for it, and he finds it!
Although the Chiefs have struggled, Patrick Mahomes is once again in MVP contention by putting up crazy stats along with the highest QBR in the league. Even with the weak start by the team around him, Mahomes is doing his thing and is only really competing with one other fellow for another MVP. Out there in the desert is a stud in the making by the name of Kyler Murray, a little giant that has led Arizona to become the only 4-0 team in the league as of the making of the video. Although his 9-to-5 touchdown to pick ratio doesn't look that impressive, he has still been able to maintain a top 3 QBR in the league with an over 75% completion percentage. That, combined with the success of the team, actually has Kyler above Mahomes as of right now, and is creating an interesting race to decide who the next MVP will be. Patrick Mahomes has been one of the best players in football for the past few years, so the fact that he is playing at a high level is not anything out of the norm, instead it's expected. Last year he passed for over 4,700 yards and 38 touchdowns as he ended up placing third in the MVP voting behind only Josh Allen and of course discount Double-Check. That season he had a 108 rating and 78 QBR, which is phenomenal in its own right, but worse numbers than his current production. This year he has a career best 119 rating and nearly 83 QBR in what is shaping up to be one of his best seasons to date. Through 4 games he has passed for just over 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 4 picks on a 2-2 Kansas City Chiefs team. It may not make sense why he's doing so well on a team that is playing underwhelmingly, but I wouldn't put as much of the blame on him as I would on the lackluster play on the defensive side. The lowest number of points allowed by the defense was 29 against the Browns, so let's just say they have struggled. If your defense gives up 30 points a game, it's going to be tough to win football games, and so it makes sense that they seemingly have to put up at least 35 points to win. Although rough, it's important to consider the fact that the team has played some tough competition. Outside of Philly, who somehow put up 30 points, the Chiefs have played the 3-1 Chargers, Browns, and Ravens, and so it's not too crazy that they've lost 2 out of the 3. Out of the 2 games that they lost, I would say that Mahomes only really struggled against the Chargers, with 2 interceptions and a season-low 61% completion percentage. Although not an ideal stat line, if you're still able to pass for over 250 yards and 3 touchdowns on your worst day, then you must be pretty dang good. Anyways, their only other loss was to Baltimore by a single point after a loose fumble prevented Mahomes from driving down the field and getting the win. In that game, Mahomes had his second best completion percentage of the season at 77, and upon that, his over 340 yards and 3 touchdowns, along with only 1 pick, should have been good enough to win. Normally putting up 35 points gets you a W, but when your defense allows 36, you're just out of luck. Nonetheless, Mahomes has done well for the most part, and honestly, I think the team really should be 3-1. Their matchup against Buffalo is going to be one of the toughest, if not the toughest games for them all year, and maybe another loss, even though Kansas City has historically done good against the Bills.
35, and that pass is intercepted. Micah Hyde's going to take it to the end zone.
Outside of that battle, they should cruise through Washington, Tennessee, and the Giants, but the defensive play is likely going to make it harder than it should be. Patrick Mahomes will be able to put up solid stats game after game, but I don't know if they'll translate to wins as they have before. Keep in mind that he's playing some of his best football of his career, and the team is 2-2, so there's really not much he can do as of now. Honestly, the success of the team is probably the only thing keeping him from an MVP win, and in my opinion, I think he's played about as good as someone in his spot can do. Maybe the new addition of Josh Gordon will help the team, but honestly, I think it's on the defense to step up and take some of the load off of Mahomes. In the deserts of Arizona resides another young star in Kyler Murray, who has been playing pretty dang well on a juiced up Cardinals unit that is the only 4-0 team in football. Although he had a stellar year in 2020 with just under 4,000 yards passing and over 800 rushing, along with over 35 touchdowns, he was not at his best. Not only did he have 12 interceptions, but his under 95 rating and 61 QBR were not him at his best. Then it might have been, but considering how well he has played this season, Kyler has shown that he has a ton of potential. Through 4 games, he has passed for over 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns, along with a bit high 4 picks. And although stats like that seem underwhelming for someone in MVP contention, it doesn't tell the full story. Even though over 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns is great in its own right, a nearly 10 yard per pass average and 76% completion percentage looks even better. Not only just that, but Kyler's 150 in rating and 74 QBR are by far his best of his career, and it has shown on the football field. From the beginning, you could just tell that there was something different in Kyler's game, and against Tennessee, he was unstoppable with nearly 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, along with only 1 pick as the team won big 38-13. You could just see that not only was Kyler on his A game, but the Cardinals as a whole. And although they barely beat the Vikings the following week, Kyler was still able to pass for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns with a ridiculous over 80% completion percentage. His 2 picks made the game closer than it should have, and almost lost them the game, but were a learning experience for the stud. You would think that experience would kick in against Jacksonville, and although he had a season best 82% completion percentage, he was unable to pass for a single TD and had a pick that kept the game closer than it should have until the Cardinals pulled it away 31-19. Following a bit of a hiccup against Jacksonville, a matchup against what was looking like the best team in football in the LA Rams seemed like a nightmare, but went much better than you would think. From the beginning, the Cardinals and Murray were in the driver's seat, and Kyler's over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns helped them give the Rams their first loss as they won 37-20. After 4 games, Kyler is looking as good as he ever has, and it has launched him into the front in the MVP race. It's gotten to the point where even his former wideout and Larry Legend has noticed his progression, saying that he looks as comfortable as ever, and in the quarterback league, that usually leads to success. If Kyler can maintain this type of comfort throughout the rest of the year, then I think he has potential to end the season as an MVP. Although his name isn't as big as Mahomes, I think Murray is extremely talented, and so I'm excited to see what he can do next. Now that we talked about both of the studs, I think it's time to pit the two against one another and see who has the edge. Currently, Murray has overtaken Mahomes in the betting world as a slight favorite at 550 to Mahomes' 600. Although crazy to think about, it makes sense considering the fact that the Cardinals have had much more success than the team in Kansas City. In fact, Kyler has even led the team to their first 4-0 start since 2012. And not only just that, but put up over 30 points against every single team. Upon that, Murray has put up over 400 total yards in each performance, which puts him in some pretty good company. Each team that has started off 4-0 and had a QB with over 400 total yards a game has ended up losing a Super Bowl, but with the player winning MVP. If you're curious about who all did that, it was Rich Gannon in 2002, Tom Brady in 2007, and Peyton Manning in 2013. So I would say it's pretty impressive. Even though it seems like a stretch for someone as new as Kyler, his production mirrors that of recent MVP winners and shows that he deserves to be where he is now. On the other side is one of those MVPs in Patrick Mahomes, the face of the NFL that has been on the top for the past few years and could honestly be considered the best player in football throughout that time. When you take that into account, the fact that his production this year is some of the best ever is much more impressive and still has him in heavy contention on an up and down 2-2 Chiefs unit. Normally players in the MVP race are on teams that have some of the best records in the league, so I think it's telling that Mahomes is doing all this on a team in rough waters. Nonetheless, Mahomes is playing lights out time and time again, and so 100% I think he deserves the praise, and in fact I don't think people know just how good he is playing. Back when he won the MVP award, people were singing his praises, but now that type of production is expected, and since the team around him has struggled, he is not as much a topic of conversation. Anyways, trying to compare the two is tough, and upon that the future is all unknown, so this is just pure speculation. But if I really had to share my thoughts about who I think is going to get the trophy at the end of the year, I have a hunch that the man out there in the desert will get his first out of hopefully a bunch. Although Mahomes has a better stat line and the bigger name, I think Murray is going to win like Lamar did a little bit ago, with his unique playstyle and interesting storyline. This is really not against Mahomes, but instead the fact that Murray hasn't been at this level before, and the fact that his team is doing well around him helps his chances quite a bit. Let's just say if I was a betting man, I'd put my money on the little giant. Who do you guys think will win the MVP? Mahomes, Murray, or someone else? Comment down below your thoughts and why. But anyways, the race for MVP is going to be fun to say the least. Patrick Mahomes is one of the most talented players in football, but I think a new star is going to end the year with some hardware.
Rush lanes, Hicks on hinges. They're trying to keep him corralled, but this is why he's so dangerous. Look how he stops here, sets his feet, boom!
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed, it would be awesome if you guys could subscribe, like, and comment down below what stuff you want next. But anyways, see you guys soon, and peace out.